Good morning, everybody. The shiur is going to be, of course, the Ilun Shama of all the נרצחים וההרוגים, רפואה שלמה לכל הפצועים ולחזרתם הביתה בשלום של החטופים ולהצלחתם של הלוחמים, לוחמי צבא הגנה לישראל. אוקיי, פרשת השבוע, פרשת ויגש. And we see something very interesting. Suddenly, Judah decides to approach Yosef. And we want to understand why now? Why not before? What happened now? And why is he telling the same story again? If you look at what he's saying exactly what was being said before. So, first of all, we have to understand something. What do the brothers think with what all was happening in front of them? First of all, they don't see Joseph. They don't realize it is him, or let's say it loud and clear, they really don't want to see. Because the truth is going to hurt them, as we see later on. Anyway, what's happening is, they are being blamed for being spies, they are being sent home to bring the young brother, Binyamin, and so on and on. The whole way they think that all this what's happening from them is because of what they did with Joseph. Maybe not the selling itself, but not listening to him, not listening to him pleading them and asking them not to do any harm to him, and they didn't listen, and they sold him to the Ishmaelite, that then sold him to Egypt, and etc. But Reuben wasn't there when they sold Joseph. He wanted to save him, but Reuben is also a part of not listening to Joseph, because he really wanted to save him. He had to take him out and take him back to his father. And also, you know, when they're all together, they're all being, let's say, punished together. Then they're being told to do Binyamin. Binyamin has got nothing to do with the selling Joseph. He wasn't there. It's got nothing to do with it. So now when he is there, what is Judah thinking, or what are the brothers thinking? Yes, of course, he is not, you cannot blame him with anything, but because he's with them together, it's like you have, let's say, 3 pieces of wood. One is wet and 2 are dry. Now you burn the dry pieces of wood, and naturally what's going to happen is eventually they would dry the wet one and will burn it also, because it's together with them, and they are the majority, and it's going to burn. The whole thing is going to burn. So they think also here, Binyamin is one with them together, and because they did the sin, because it's with them, they are going to be punished. But then when Judah says to Joseph, "Leave me, I'm going to stay, I'm going to be the slave." What is Joseph saying? No, 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 no. The only one that we found, the grill, that found the cup, he is going to be the one, he's going to be the slave, he's going to stay, you go home. Now he's thinking for a minute, one minute. If now Binyamin is the only one who's going to be punished, it means that it's got nothing to do with what happened with Joseph, because he was not there. Then that's the reason he is approaching, Judah is now approaching Joseph. And why is he telling him the whole story again? What happened? What has been changed? The thing is that if we think about it, what's going on here? Let's see for a minute what is really written there. Vayigach elav Yehuda. Vayomer bi Adoni yedaber na'avdecha davar. It's called, first of all, I want to talk to your ears, that you will hear exactly what I've got to say. Now we have to understand what's happening here. What is happening here is, let's say presumably it's a big hall, and Joseph is sitting on a chair on the other side of this big hall, and he's surrounded, of course, with guards, and they are far away. So now there can be 2 things. Either he doesn't hear what they're saying, and the translator that is between them, he goes backwards and forwards and explains Joseph what they're saying. And there could be another thing, that the translator, he's not translating the things right. He's changing the words. Maybe he hates them or wants the bad for them. But let's see. He says, "Adoni shalta v'decha," you asked us, have you got a father or a brother? And we said, yes, we have a father, an old father, and a child, and his brother died, and he was left alone to his mother, and his father loves him, and you told, I want to see him. And we thought, what's going on here? Because he says, you are blaming us of being spies. You're blaming us all this time for very strange things, which we didn't say anything that can lead to a conclusion like this. You asked us, we've got a father. We said yes. And we told you a story that nothing to do with being spies. But what can be is that the translator is changing it. And when we answer the question, he changed the question so it would look that we are spies. So I want to talk to you, in front of you, to your ears, that you will hear exactly the story. Now we say, 1 minute. Maybe he doesn't understand Hebrew. He doesn't understand the language. What do you want to talk with him? That's the reason there was a translator there. We can say, okay, it's because it was far away, we didn't hear, and now he does now know the language, and he just has to hear it in his ears. And this is connected also to the other reason. Because, okay, let's say that the translator is translating what the brothers are talking to the language of the Egyptian language. But he says, Kamocha keparo, you are like Pharaoh. And what does it mean? All the ministers, the big shots in Egypt, they had to know the languages of the whole area. This is one of the requirements of the job. In other words, Pharaoh had to know the language, and so are you. Ki chamocha kekfaro, you are like Pharaoh, you have to understand the language. That was, he's approaching him. There are a lot of other explanations, but I don't want to go in this way. And this is why he's telling him the whole story. And listen to what he's saying, and when Joseph reveals himself, what's happening. So look, he says, "Vanomer el Adonim," we told you that the kid cannot leave his father, because if he leaves his father, azav et aviv vamet, his father is going to die. It's going to have a heart attack. "Vatomer levadecha, im lo yared alchem," if you don't bring it, you cannot come and see me. "Vayiki aliyun avdecha avi," so we told our father the whole story. "Vayomer avinu shuvu shivru lanu ma'at mayim," and then he told us, go and bring us some food. Abu says, we cannot go if we don't take our little brother. Achinu hakaton itanu. "Vayomer avdecha avi eleinu," it says, you know that I have 2 children from my wife, from Rachel, and one left, and he was, who knows, a beast, he ate him. I didn't see him till now. By the way, it's not saying he's dead, because Yaakov knows inside that Yosef is not dead. Okay. "Ulekachtem gam et ze," now you want to take my other son from my beloved wife Rachel, alea shulam, והורדתים את צבתי ברעלה שלו, וקראו אסון, אוי ואבוי, what's going to happen? "ואתה, כבואי לעבדך אבי, והנער איננו איתי, ונפשו קשורה בנפשו, ויכיר אותו כאין הנער, ומת." If he sees that the boy is not coming back, he's going to die. You want to leave him here? If I'm coming back to my father without Binyamin, my father is going to get a heart attack, he's going to die. And listen to what's happening. And then he's going and talking a little more. "ולא יכול יוסף," Yosef cannot hold it anymore, and he's telling, by the way, another interesting thing is to learn here how to rebuke. Rebuke is not a mitzvah ben adam lamakom. It's not between us and God, it's between us and our friends, which is also the same, by the way. In other words, when you do rebuke, you have to do it in a nice way, and not to shame the one that you are talking to. And that's, by the way, that's what happened again with Tamar. If you remember Tamar in Yehuda, Tamar was pregnant from Yehuda, but she didn't tell nobody. And she was now standing there. In a few minutes, she's going to be burned. And she's not telling anybody that the one that did it, that got her pregnant, is Yehuda. She just gave him the stick and the other stuff that she had, and says, the one that those things belong to him, he is the one that got me pregnant. Now, Yehuda could have said, I don't know what she's talking about, burn her. But Yehuda stands up and admitted that he was the one. Now see, Tamar was willing to be burned and not to shame Yehuda. Unbelievable. From this Chazal learn, מוטב להטיל עצמו לכבשן האש ולא לבייש את חברו ברבים. it's better off that you will be burned and not shame your friend in a public. Unbelievable. And what is Joseph doing now? It's not, maybe it's not exactly the same, but still, he is going to be left with all those brothers that are very strong. And when they is going to tell them that this is Joseph, they might kill him also. It's also an option. But okay, let's not compare this. But the thing is that one thing we can compare. He is also trying very hard not to shame his brothers. So what is he doing? Otziu kol ish ma'alai. And the Torah says very clearly, Otziu kol ish ma'alai, and then again says, Velo amad ish ito, and nobody stood there when he was telling his brothers that he is Joseph. Nobody was there. And then he says, he's crying, and then, etc. It says, Ani Yosef ha'od avichai, I am Joseph. Is my father still alive? Now what is he saying? 2 minutes before they told you your father is alive. So what are you saying? But what he's saying is the way, the right way, and the best way to rebuke somebody. Because what did Judah say 2 minutes ago? If I am not coming back with Binyamin, my father will die. So Joseph is asking, when you sold me and came back without me, what? Didn't you think about my father? Is he still alive after what you did to me? Wow. When they heard this, they couldn't stand. The Midrash says that the Neshama flew away and God revived them. Unbelievable. They realized after all those years and all the clues and all what was happening, they couldn't see it, because the worst thing for somebody is to admit a mistake. I did a mistake. That's one of the worst thing. The most hardest thing in the world is to admit a mistake we did. Think about it. And now the brother see in front of them their brother, and all those dreams that they say is arrogant, he wants to rule on them, and is not suitable to the job. Suddenly, they see that all those dreams came true. Unbelievable. He's standing in front of them, and they're bowing to him exactly as he said in his dream. They didn't know what to do. Now, what would you do instead of Joseph? Joseph is called Yosef HaTzadik because to get to his level is very, very, very hard, maybe even impossible. The brothers wanted to kill him, and they sold him. And Chazal says, Gadol amachti'o yoter me'orgo. If you make somebody sin, this is much worse than if you kill him. Why? Because when you kill him, he still got Olam Haba, he's got the next world. But if you make, or you put him in a position that is going to sin because of you, then he's losing Olam Haba. He's losing Olam Hazeh and Olam Haba. So it's worse. And what did they do? They sold him to corrupted people. He got into Egypt, the most corrupted place in the world. To the point that when they come back to their father, it says, Yosef Chai, he cannot believe them. Chai lives, that he lives like he is his son still, and he's not corrupted by the Egyptian. And only after they explain to him, no, Hu Moshel B'chol Mitzrayim. He governs Egypt. He is not in their ways. He is controlling everything, and he's still in his belief, and still is emunah. He still believes in God. He still does all the things. He was eating by himself, and all those things that they saw before, suddenly they got together and completed the puzzle of what was so strange when he put them, each brother, the Bchor, the eldest, and then the next one, the third one, and all those things. He's eating kosher, and he's not eating with the Egyptian, and he's talking about God, all those things, and he looks like Yaakov. All those things suddenly came together, because now that's what it is. It's in front of them. It's Joseph telling him, I'm Yosef, and he shows them he's Yosef. Now they're afraid, because what would we do? As we said, Yosef is something that maybe that's one of the reasons that Judah is the one who was chosen to be the king. and not Joseph. Because Judah is a guy that we can connect to. He makes mistake. Joseph doesn't make mistake. Even with the wife of Potiphar, he didn't do anything. Unbelievable, this guy. But Judah, he did a mistake. But he admits the mistake. And this is something we can relate to. But Joseph is something up there. And look what he's doing. He is trying to convince his brother with all he can that he loves them. He loves them because we see how he behaves. With all they wanted to do to him, he still loves them. And as you remember what he said last week, I'm looking for my brother. How much is for us to learn from this? To love our brothers, even if they don't think like us. Look what Joseph is telling us. Put it inside. That is our salvation. That is our solution for all the problems we are. To be together. To be forgiving. And look what Joseph is doing. And he's telling them, they are afraid because they know what he did. And he says, come here. I am Joseph. Yes, you sold me. But don't be sad. Don't be angry that you sold me. Here, look. God sent me here to support you now. There is a famine. There is no food. I'm going to support you now. It's not 2 years there's a famine. There is nothing to eat. And there is going to be 5 years more. And God sent me, and again he's saying, God sent me before you to prepare you food and everything that you need. And then again, you didn't send me. Who are you? God is the one who is controlling everything. He sent me, not you. And look what happened. I am now the second in command in Egypt. So, did you do something bad? Or did you really do something good? Because look what happened. And look where I am. And you didn't do anything. Look how he's convincing them. And eventually hugging and kissing and everything. A happy end, happy end. And this reminds a story with a king that had a precious stone. Very big. Very expensive. Very rare. Maybe the only one in the world. And suddenly, one day it fall in a certain position. I don't know what and happened. And there was a scratch there. And the king was so sad. So he sent to all the experts, all the jewelers, look, what can you do with the stone? And everybody looked at it and says, there's nothing to do. The only thing to do is to cut it to a few stones. And then, of course, it's going to lose all the, all the value. And he put an announcement in the whole country, if somebody can come and look. He had a problem with the stone. And came a guy and looked at the stone and says, my dear king, I'm not only going to give the stone the value back, I'm going to double the value of the stone. Says King said, what, are you crazy or something? How are you going to do this? And he says, look, you see the scratch? I'm going to go a little further. What? What, you making the scratch even worse? I said, look, listen to the end. And I'm going to scratch in the stone a crown, the symbol of your kingdom. And now you're going to have a big precious stone with your signature on it, with the sign of your kingdom on it. So, is it going to worse? It's going now to double the value. Who's got a stone like this? And this is what Joseph is telling the brothers. What have you done? You think you scratched me? You think you ruined me? You think you damaged me? No. On the contrary, look what happened from this scratch. Look what happened where I am today. I am the king. I am the second in command of Egypt. And of course, the thing that had to lead us, especially in those days, is look at the behavior of Joseph. Look how he's trying so hard to show his brother his love, even though what they did to him. And this is something we have to remember. This is something that we have to put in our mind. The only way that we are going to be saved, the only way that we are going to win big time, is if we are together. Even though there are different opinions. All the best, and have a beautiful, nice week. And Bezrat Hashem, Yeshu'a Gdola b'mera b'yameinu.